Hey guys, Will Arrowsmith here with the Langdon House Studios. Welcome to my new series. This is going to be a 10-part series of basically a behind-the-scenes / comprehensive look at a recording studio. This is not your typical recording studio. This is my personal own small recording studio. Bigger studios have, little rooms where people can go record, but I'm not going to go into all of that at the moment. I'm just giving you a basic overview of what comprises a recording studio and how things are typically run. I will also show you how I do things. It's not necessarily how other people do things. I like to say there is no right or wrong way to set up a recording studio and do your own workflow, but I'm just going to show you how I do it and hopefully give you some pointers and some tips and some general ways of doing things and what they call industry standard or general acceptable way of doing stuff. So a little bit of background on me. I started running live sound when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I was under the tutelage of a gentleman by the name of Dale Renner, who lives down in Topeka, Kansas. Very special and good human being. I give that man a lot of credit for a lot of the knowledge of sound engineering and especially doing live sound. He taught me pretty much everything I know. Gave me a good foundation, I should say. But anyway, I started doing live concerts back when I was 6 or 7, mixing and doing live sound. Started off on an analog board, or I should say analog sound board, and slowly graduated up from there. And now just about every concert you go to is run by a digital soundboard. It's pretty much the standard now. For the longest time, I didn't like digital soundboards because I didn't think they were very intuitive. You really, really, really had to know what you were doing. You really had to know the ins and outs of the soundboard before you even started working on it or doing a live show. And analog boards were pretty much the way to go for the longest time, simply because they were easy to get around on. Everything was right there. All your faders and knobs and everything was visible to you right there on the spot. Digital boards, especially nowadays, really aren't that way. They still have faders and they still have knobs and buttons, but it's in a much more confined and compact space. So that's basically how I started. I do everything digitally now, simply because my opinion is the digital boards have come quite a ways, and their sound quality has greatly improved. Their user ability has gotten much easier to deal with. So in a nutshell, I'm going to tell you what you should have when you begin your own recording studio. I'm not going to tell you, go out and get, the most greatest, latest thing. I'm just going to tell you how I got started and what you should probably do to get started yourself. We're going to start off with the microphone. You're listening to me through one of the microphones that I have. This is a Blue microphone. It's their Bluebird model. They actually don't make this model anymore. They have upgraded it with some knobs and buttons that let you do different things. But this is a very good microphone. I highly suggest getting it. The main microphone I use for recording is actually this microphone right here. This is an AKG. They call this the Perception 420. They've actually upgraded this microphone too, so you can't find this one anymore. But the newest microphone is essentially the same thing. It's got all the buttons and knobs on it. It's a very good microphone. This is what I use for most of my projects. And then the main microphone you should probably get is something like this. This is what's called a large diaphragm microphone. You can kind of see it through the screen there, but there's a large head on the inside of this mesh screen. This is what they call a large diaphragm, and you can kind of see on the inside it's a large diaphragm. This is what picks up your sound. This is what they call a small diaphragm microphone. Um, and as you can see, the diaphragm on this one is a lot smaller and not really conducive for vocal recording. But this is great for instrumental recording, like drums or guitars or saxophones or any wind instrument or anything like that. This microphone is excellent for that. But as far as we're concerned, I'm going to stick with large diaphragm microphones for now. And these are the de facto go-to microphone for vocal recording in a studio. And I highly suggest getting one of these. There are lots of different models and companies and brands that make large diaphragm microphones. I have two, like I just mentioned before. I have Blue and AKG. There are other companies out there that make large diaphragm microphones. Slate is one. Another one is Neumann. That's a very popular one. But Shure makes a lot of them. But there's a lot of companies out there that make large diaphragm microphones. When you're starting out, I would get something that's within your budget. Really do your research on microphones and what would work best for you. I did a lot of research to look up this microphone, and I'm glad I did, because this is a very good microphone to start out with. It doesn't break the bank. It's about $200, and it does a very good job. Neumann microphones, a lot of people will tell you go for Neumann. The cheapest Neumann microphone I've ever seen is about $700-800, and they just go more expensive from there. If that's within your budget, absolutely go right ahead and do that. But if you're budget conscious like I am, I would look around the $180 to $300 range, and that'll get you started off pretty well. The next thing you have to get is an interface to plug into your computer. The interface, all it does is transfer audio going into the microphone into a language the computer can understand. And it's a very essential piece of hardware, unless you get a microphone that has a USB port. They do make those. But if you're wanting a higher quality microphone than that, I suggest getting a microphone with just a mic cable that plugs into the interface, and the interface plugs into your computer via USB cable, and it's a better quality in my opinion. And there are a number of different interfaces that you can get. The most popular brand is a brand called Focusrite. They make 2-channel interfaces, and I think they go up to 6-channel interfaces, I think. But they're a very good brand. I suggest looking into those. If you're just starting out doing your own vocals one at a time, I would look into getting their 2-channel interface. I believe they call it the 2i2 Scarlett. It's a red box about this big, and it's a very good interface. I suggest getting that. Or you can go like I did and get a soundboard. Okay, so this is the board I use for all my recording. This is the Behringer X32 Compact. This is a digital soundboard. It does a very excellent job. I like this board because I can do live shows and or studio recording with this board. It's a very flexible sound board, and I highly suggest looking into it if you're looking to get something like this. Now, getting a board like that is probably overkill if you're going to start out. In fact, in my studio, this is overkill right now. I just do not have the room space to record multiple instruments at once. This board can do that. I just don't have the space for it. That being said, the next thing you should get is a computer, obviously. You can get a laptop, you can get a desktop, you can even get a tablet if you want. I use a Surface Pro and a desktop computer, PC. A lot of guys and a lot of studios will use Mac. That is perfectly acceptable. There's nothing wrong with Mac. In fact, they're very good computers. I don't prefer them because once you get a Mac, that's what you have. You can't upgrade it. You can't do anything else to it. That's what you have for the life of that computer. With PCs, you can upgrade them over time. They're very flexible machines, and that's what I grew up with. That's what I know, and I just use PCs. The next thing, and like let me backtrack here. With the PC, I will get into a little bit more detail about what kind of PC you should look for and what kind of power you should look for here in a minute. Next thing you should probably get is a good size computer monitor. If you're doing a desktop computer, I suggest getting a monitor that's at least 24 inches or bigger. Simply because you're going to be dealing with a lot of visual real estate if you're recording, and the more space you have, the more stuff you can look at, and the better off you're going to be. I use a 27-inch monitor, and it does a great job. The next thing you should probably get is a large internal or external hard drive. This is simply because you're going to be dealing with audio files that can get quite large. And you're going to want a lot of space to be able to hold all of those audio files. And you're going to want a hard drive that is fast enough to handle all that information. So really do your research. There's a lot of external hard drives that do a great job, and a lot of internal hard drives that also do a great job. Look into either getting an SSD hard drive. They're very fast and do. The only problem is storage space. Some of them, the max size I've seen is about 1 terabyte, which is nowadays not a whole lot. But that being said, look into getting an external hard drive as well. Those are getting bigger every day. Every time I go and look for one, the space capacity of these external hard drives is getting larger and larger and larger. So really look into those. If you have any questions about details of hard drive to get, just let me know. Next thing you're going to want to have is a good set of headphones. Now, you can do mixing on earbuds if you like. I don't suggest doing that, especially if you're looking for a higher quality. If you're going to do a lot of mixing by yourself on your computer, then you're going to want a good set of headphones. The set I use right now is a set from Shure. They are the SRH 940s. As you can tell, I've used these a lot. They're kind of beat up a little bit, but these are my go-to headphones. They have a nice flat frequency response. They're very detailed. I can hear a lot of detail with these headphones. They're very, very good. And I suggest getting a set of headphones that are in this range, in this price range. These are known as over-the-ear closed-back headphones. You can also get over-the-ear open-back headphones, which are very frequent, very good quality headphones, but they can get very expensive. And I also suggest getting more than one pair. If you're going to get a second pair of headphones, say you're doing a recording of somebody else in your group, they're going to want to be able to hear themselves. And I suggest getting a pair of monitoring headphones. These are very budget conscious. These are a set by Audio-Technica that I have. They are the ATH M20X headphones. I use these a lot when I'm in the studio, and they're very good headphones. And but they're very budget conscious. I think these were like $30, so they do a great job. And then you're going to want some way for them to be able to hear themselves. You can, a lot of your 2-channel interfaces have a headphone jack in them. Some of them do not. Really do your research on what's flexible and what works for you. I use a headphone amp that can do up to 6 channels at once. So if I can have 6 different headphone mixes for people, and it does a pretty good job. So definitely look into those. Last but not least is, if you have the budget to do so, I suggest getting some good quality studio monitors. This is what I use right here. This is a JBL LSR308. That's the model number for that monitor. That is the studio monitor that I use. I've got 2 of them. I've got one on each side, obviously. And they do an excellent job. And for the price, you really can't go wrong with these. There are lots and lots of studio monitor brands out there. JBL makes good ones at a very good price. I highly suggest looking them up. These models you can't find anymore. They've upgraded, and really the only difference between this one and the newer model is how it looks, to be quite honest with you. But look into those as well. And then I personally have my own subwoofer down here on the floor. Simply because I tend to mix a little bass heavy, and this subwoofer helps prevent that for me. But it helps fill in the bottom end. You really don't need a subwoofer, especially if you get 8-inch woofer monitors like the ones I have. They have very good frequency response and are excellent tools for most mixes. Now, all that being said, with your computer, you're going to want something that is quick enough, has enough space, and is just right for what you're going to do. For audio, especially recording studio computers, you're going to want something that has a lot of RAM. I suggest getting something that has at least 16 gigabytes of RAM, because you're going to be dealing with a lot of information going back and forth. You're going to want something that has USB ports in it, obviously. You can do FireWire if you want. FireWire is now just a little bit outdated. I suggest going with either USB 3.0 or a USB-C port. And then obviously, I mentioned earlier, get a hard drive that is nice and large. I use 2 hard drives. I use one for all my programming. So my operating system operates off of my SSD hard drive, which is a very fast hard drive. It's a flash memory based, but it's very quick. I really like it. You can also get another hard drive that's even faster than that, what they call an M.2. That's just personal preference. They're a very, very fast and very quick hard drive, but they're also quite expensive. And then my second hard drive I use is where I put all my storage. So once I'm done with a project, all of my files move over to that storage drive to free up space on my SSD. And if it's a very large drive. Mine's about 2 terabytes. It's an internal drive. I don't have an external drive, but it gets the job done. And then for your processor, there's two companies that make processors for your computer. One is Intel and the other one is AMD. Excuse me. I have an Intel processor. I have an i5. It is definitely not the fastest processor out there. And my processor is a little bit outdated, to be quite honest with you. I'm looking at upgrading here pretty soon to either an i7 or an i9, because I'm doing a lot more video production as well. If you're going to be doing video production, I highly suggest absolute minimum going with an Intel i7 processor or higher. For audio, you really don't need a higher processor, because a lot of your audio information goes through your RAM. So other than that, you really don't need a CD drive anymore unless you're burning CD master discs for somebody. If you're going to do that, there's plenty of CD drives out there that you can find on Newegg or Amazon or Sweetwater that do a great job. Other than that, that's pretty much all you need. So do your research. Number one, really look around for the best equipment that is right for your budget. Start out small. Over time, you'll be able to upgrade your equipment like I've done. I started out real small. I had a little 4-channel analog mixer and my AKG microphone, and that's all I had. So really start out small within your price range. Really shop around for the right equipment for you. The best websites to look at are Amazon.com, Newegg.com. Look at Sweetwater, their shopping site, and then I do a lot of shopping through a store out of New York City called B&H. So just shop around, really look for the best price. Definitely read all the reviews, do your homework, and you should be okay. All that being said, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time, and have a great day.